Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for another review where we're taking a look today at Gran Turismo 2, the sequel to the PlayStation's best ever selling game, 1997's Gran Turismo, with the sequel coming out originally in Japan and North America in December of 1999 before coming out over here in the PAL region in January of 2000. So, with the original Gran Turismo raising the bar for racing games across any format by such a huge amount upon release, Gran Turismo 2 had a massive challenge ahead of it when it came out if it was gonna better that, especially considering the Dreamcast was now on the market as well, so it wasn't gonna win all these people over with visuals alone. It really did have to improve dramatically on what the first game could offer. Like always, I'll be talking about what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it plays like, how much content and lifespan it's got, whether it's still worth playing today, and ultimately, is it going to feature in our PlayStation Top 10? The first thing that you'll notice within the game is that it is now spread across two discs, with one devoted purely to the arcade mode and the other devoted to the simulation mode. The main menu though is pretty much identical regardless of which disc you put in, and you have the choice of starting your game, entering the replay theatre, going into the options, loading and saving data, and also transferring your data. Once you head into the options, you'll see you've got quite a few things that you can change on the global options page, including choosing the standard viewpoint, having the map overlay on or off, a few replay settings, music and sound effects volume control, and whether you want vibration on or off with the DualShock controllers should you be using one. The race options include how many laps you want your arcade races to be and whether you want damage on or off. Then you've got a few two-player settings including the number of laps damage on or off here, if you want tyre damage on or off, handicap settings, and also slow car boost for whoever is losing in a two-player battle. You can also check the control pad layout and make adjustments to the analog settings on the controllers as well. So like always, I'm going to start with the visuals first, and when the original Gran Turismo came out towards the end of 1997, it was by far the best looking racing game on the system and one of, if not the very best looking 3D game that the console had seen for that point in time. Polyphony Digital had done an incredible job in giving PlayStation owners truly realistic looking cars for the era, that trying to improve the quality of the visuals for the sequel whilst using the same hardware was basically an impossible task. Take into account as well that the Dreamcast was on the market now, and that was capable of vastly superior visuals to the original PlayStation, so much so that it was simply impossible for Gran Turismo 2 to be the best looking racing game on the market. So what Polyphony Digital decided to do was simply give you more of everything in regards to the visuals. By spreading the game across the two discs, Gran Turismo 2 boasted over 600 cars and 27 different tracks, which now included rally courses, meaning the visual variety that the game possessed upon release was absolutely staggering. Whereas many racing games from this period in time really struggled to give you strikingly different courses, Gran Turismo 2 does an amazing job of giving you visually unique tracks, whether it's standard daytime races, nighttime races, city-based tracks, rally courses, or one of the many other styles of course layout that the game has. They all feel truly unique, and to go with the huge amount of visual variety, the game maintains the same core graphics engine, meaning the PlayStation's famous texture warping is nowhere to be seen, and we still have great looking car models with tremendous levels of detail that resemble their real-life counterparts incredibly well. We've also got a more updated and polished menu presentation throughout the game, and the fantastic looking replays return as well, which still hold up brilliantly to this very day. With me saying such overwhelmingly positive things about the game visually, does it mean that it's the ultimate PlayStation game in terms of visuals though? Well, it does have a few imperfections, primarily in the performance on more complex course layouts, especially when several cars are on the screen at once, as there is some noticeable slowdown. You may also notice this within the replays as well. You do also get a little bit of polygonal breakup as well in the courses, which was fairly common on PlayStation racing games, with the Cool Borders games being noticeable culprits. But even with these two very minor niggles, there really can't be any denying that Gran Turismo 2 was the very best looking racing game and one of the best looking games overall that the original PlayStation ever saw. So moving on to the sound effects and music, and for me the main strength of the previous game in this area was the quality of the sound effects for all of the cars, and once again in my opinion they are absolutely brilliant here. Whilst I don't think I could ever aim any criticism at the sound effects within Gran Turismo 2, because for me to this day they still sound very good, there were some people out there who did complain that some of the engine sounded unrealistic and did not match well with their real life counterparts, with the Dodge Viper frequently singled out. Of course though, if like myself you've never driven a Dodge Viper or even heard one of them up close and personal, in reality this wasn't really much of an issue. We've once again also got some very pleasant menu music within the game, much like the first game had, and once you enter the different areas of the main menu and you're browsing the different car manufacturers, you'll have a different tune to accompany you in each area, and all of them once again are quite pleasant and relaxing to listen to as you browse through all the cars that are on selection. Whilst the music within the races is by no means memorable in comparison to many of the arcade races we saw in the mid to late 90s, like Daytona USA Ridge Racer or Sega Rally, it is still perfectly fine to race along to and doesn't overpower the sound effects within the game, which are always important for a more realistic racer like Gran Turismo. So like I always do, I will give you some samples of the music from within the game. In regards to the gameplay, the motto for the Gran Turismo series has always been the real driving simulator, and if you're more familiar with the more recent releases in the series and then you head back to play Gran Turismo 2 now, you'll realize it isn't quite as realistic as you may well have first felt when you played it 25 years ago. That being said, both Gran Turismo and its sequel here still offer a much more realistic racing experience than any of the other racing games that the PlayStation ever saw. With so many cars to win and purchase, the chance to take part in rally events now, and the ability to upgrade and tweak your cars to your heart's content, the variety on offer when it comes to gameplay is still incredibly high. Even now, many years after its initial release, it's still incredibly enjoyable to play regardless of how realistic it actually is or isn't, and winning a new car, then improving it before testing it out within one of the many races that the game has to offer simply doesn't get old or boring. And if you're not a huge fan of the more realistic simulation mode, you obviously have the arcade mode too, just like the previous game, which gives you a more pick up and play experience while still retaining the incredibly enjoyable gameplay. much like the first game too, you will probably want to opt for an analog or dual shock controller simply because controlling the cars with these gives you a more accurate experience. So moving on to content and lifespan next, and it probably won't come as much of a surprise when I say that this is undeniably the biggest strength of the game. Like I previously mentioned, the game has over 600 cars, and when you take into account reversed and altered versions of courses, there are a total of 49 different track layouts to race on as well, meaning it dwarfs the original Gran Turismo in raw content by a huge amount. Unlike the first Gran Turismo though, this game is spread across a devoted arcade disc and a devoted simulation disc, meaning you have two complete experiences on offer. In regards to the arcade mode, we have standard races to take part in, rally mode, time trials, and also a two-player split screen, meaning the arcade disc alone has more content than many other full-blown racing releases on the PlayStation. Although you only have a limited number of courses and cars initially available, once you're victorious in these, you will gradually unlock both more courses to race on and cars to race with. You can also use the cars that you've gathered in simulation mode within the arcade mode too, meaning you have plenty of choice when it comes to selecting your vehicle to take part in the races. Add in the fact that you've got time trial mode as well, and the oh so important two-player split screen. The arcade disc alone has a great amount of content and lifespan. For as great as the arcade mode is, the simulation mode is where the main body of the game resides. Much like the first Gran Turismo game, you'll have a small amount of money to purchase your first car with before you gradually work your way through all of the races that the game has to offer, but it is the sheer volume of things to do within Gran Turismo 2 simulation mode that remains absolutely staggering to this very day. For starters, the license tests have been expanded, and there are now a total of 6 licenses on offer, with races once again requiring different licenses in order for you to be able to participate in them. If you're an absolute perfectionist, you can try and aim for gold certificates in all of the challenges within every license so that you can unlock reward cars to add to your collection and then race with. And this is indeed an immense challenge and will require a huge amount of dedication and persistence should you want to achieve this on all of the license tests. The tests themselves are only scratching the surface though, because the main bulk of content is in the Gran Turismo Foundation menu, where you'll see that you have the Gran Turismo League, special events, endurance and rally event options. The Gran Turismo League has the 9 core events for you to take part in, and this will give you access to the ending credits once you complete them all, but the special events are where you have the most selection of races to take part in, with 22 different events located here, all having a varying number of races for you to take part in. If you're a fan of rally racing though, there are 9 rally events to take part in within Gran Turismo 2 as well, and if endurance races happen to be your thing, there are now a total of 7 endurance races to take part in, with these being the ultimate test of concentration and stamina. One of the big plus points with Gran Turismo 2 is that for the large majority of races that you take part in, you will win prize cars, meaning you can build up a huge collection of vehicles within the game quite quickly. Of course, if the vehicles are not what you want in your garage, you can indeed sell them for money. This time around as well, the vehicles that you win all have different values, unlike the first game, meaning when you discover which races give you the best prize cars worth the most money, you can then sell them and indeed repeat the races and build yourself a huge prize pot of money. This is actually something that I missed from the earlier games in the series, as much more newer games in the Gran Turismo series are indeed far harder to gain credits in. And if all of the races within these 4 options isn't enough for you, there are also specific races within the large majority of car manufacturer menus for you to take part in as well. These races will require you to use specific vehicles from that manufacturer though, so you may find yourself needing to continually gain credits to then purchase specific vehicles and then upgrade them somewhat so that you can then be victorious in these races. Gran Turismo 2 on the whole simply has an unbelievable amount of races and events for you to take part in that it remains a staggering thought that this game appeared on the original PlayStation. If tuning and tweaking your cars is of interest to you, then Gran Turismo 2 gives you a plethora of options. The amount of purchasable parts for vehicles has been increased from the first game, just like the tuning options too, meaning you can literally bury yourself trying to tweak your cars to get the very best performance out of them. And once you've done this, you can put them to the test on the test track within the game, where you can test out their 0 to 400 and 0 to 1000 meter times, and also test out all of your vehicle's top speeds as well. Like I mentioned when I reviewed the first game, this is quite an addictive feature when you take your fully tuned vehicles onto the test track and go flat out to see what their maximum speeds are. If it's visual customizations that you're more into, then Gran Turismo 2's wheel shop will be right up your street, with a large variety of wheel manufacturers and designs available for you to select from, giving your vehicles that more unique and personal look. The main menu's also been slightly rejigged for Gran Turismo 2, with 4 distinct cities now selectable, with a variety of car manufacturers in each one, with a total of 53 car manufacturers within the game. Indeed, you can find yourself browsing through all of the cars that are on offer within the game for a considerable length of time, due to the sheer variety of vehicles that the game offers you. Indeed, Gran Turismo 2 has more vehicles in it than the most recent entry in the series, Gran Turismo 7. And in summary, when it comes to content and lifespan, I find it impossible to think that anybody could criticize Gran Turismo 2 in this regard at all, because for the point in time that it came out, it simply offered a completely unmatched experience. So like always, that leaves me with my 2 final questions. Is Gran Turismo 2 still worth playing nowadays, and where does it feature in our PlayStation top 10, assuming it actually enters it? Now, I will say this, Gran Turismo 2 for me is the very best racing game that the PlayStation ever saw by a considerable margin. And I'll go one further and say it is the very best racing game from the entire generation, vastly superior to anything that either the Nintendo 64 or the Sega Saturn could produce. And I'll go even one further than that and say that it's better than anything that appeared on the Dreamcast as well. Whilst both Sega GT and Metropolis Street Racer were fantastic racing games that obviously looked better, they simply did not offer anywhere near as much as Gran Turismo 2 did. And if you go back and play it now, you will still thoroughly enjoy it. In fact, for the sake of the review, I actually played through every single license test, I played through every single Gran Turismo event, every single special event, every single rally event, and every single race in arcade mode as well, and thoroughly enjoyed my time playing the game. And of course, the big question is, where does it come into our PlayStation top 10? Now, if you watch the channel regularly, you will know that I did cover the original Gran Turismo a few months back, and that came into my PlayStation top 10 at number 1. And as I've already said, Gran Turismo 2 is the best racing game the system ever saw. So of course, that means it's coming into my PlayStation top 10 right at the top of the pile at number 1. Now, I wouldn't read too much into this currently, because some of the games I've got in my PlayStation top 10 are not going to stay there much longer. Once I've covered some of the better games on the system, some of those games in the list are going to get booted out the list, never to return again. But of course, I want to hear what everybody else's thoughts on Gran Turismo 2 are. Do you feel that it's still genuinely a great game like I do? Do you agree with the things I said, or do you disagree? Let me know with your thoughts down below. And like always, I'll be back in the near future with another review. Goodbye for now.